There are currently over 168 known devil fruits in One Piece. The myth of devil fruit states that in ancient times, the sea devil made the fruits as its incarnations, with each fruit containing its own devil inside them, but those that ate them would be punished by the mother nature of Umi, the sea, and drown when in contact with any type of water. However, our scientific understanding of them has led us to understand more about them, as devil fruits are filled with genetic code that allows those who eat them to evolve into several different potential futures of evolution for mankind, having come to be created from the dreams and desires of people, though whether this was meant literally or metaphorically is a different thing. With a number of over 90 PARAMECIA, 14 LOGIA, 53 ZOAN, and more, here are all the devil fruits in One Piece explained. One of the three categories of devil fruits is LOGIA, which allow the user to transform into and generate an element of nature, not to be mistaken with some PARAMECIA or ZOAN fruits that have similar properties but don't fulfill the LOGIA requirements. It's unknown what LOGIA awakenings consist of, but some LOGIA users have been able to achieve a stage where they can make their elements come to life. Gasugasunomi or gas fruit allows the user to transform into the natural element of gases, able to freely generate and turn into gaseous substances. The user can transform into a gaseous form that cannot be grabbed without haki and can fly around, as well as generate and interact with other types of gases which can be poisonous, flammable, or have other effects. The user can even manipulate the gas that is oxygen, causing others to suffocate. Eaten by Caesar Clown. Gorogoronomi or Thunder fruit turns you into a lightning man, allows the user to transform into the natural element of lightning, able to freely generate and turn into electricity, move around at the speed of lightning, or smite anything with thunder, so long as the target can conduct electricity, making this quite a dangerous fruit with incredible firepower. With advanced enough technology, the lightning can even be used to power some machinery. Even by Enel, who has advanced it to the point of being able to make it come to life. Gunyonomi or Gloop fruit evolves you into a clay man, allows the user to transform into the natural element of clay, able to freely generate and turn into gloopy clay. This clay can then be shaped to create golems. In by Prince Gurus, who has advanced to the point of being able to make it come to life by making clay golems, though while he seemed to transform his hand into the element, it's not fully clear if this could actually be a PARAMECIA fruit that creates living creatures as a special property, or a LOGIA as it's supposedly classified as. Hienomi or cold fruit evolves you into a freeze man, allows the user to transform into the natural element of ice, able to freely generate and turn into solid ice themselves. They can use this ice to freeze other things or people solid. Someone frozen solid becomes vulnerable to being shattered more easily, and if not the frosted, will die after not long. A skilled enough user can freeze entire large surfaces in moments. In by Kuzan or former Admiral Aokishi, was advanced to the point of being able to make it come to life. Magumagonomi or Magma fruit evolves you into a Magma man, allows the user to transform into the natural element of magma, able to freely generate and turn into semi-liquid magma. This magma has incredible scorching power, able to burn and eviscerate anything it touches, having disintegrated even some of the most durable substances known. In by Sakazuki or Admiral Akainu, who has advanced to the point of being able to make it come to life. Meranomi or Flame fruit allows the user to transform into the natural element of fire, able to freely generate and turn into scorching flames. Also provides the user with immunity to temperatures due to always being warm, countered by elements that put out fire. Eaten by Portugas the Ace and later eaten by Sabo. Mokumokunomi or Smoke fruit turns you into a smoke man, allows the user to transform into the natural element of smoke, able to freely generate and turn into gaseous smoke. It also seemingly makes the user immune to the damages of smoking due to being made of smoke. Eaten by Smoker. Morimorinomi or Woods fruit evolves you into a forest man, allows the user to transform into the natural element of flora, able to freely generate and turn into any type of plant, flower, herb, or tree among other flora. This can allow the user to generate living plants in areas that may otherwise be deserted, as well as control them freely, resulting in vines and trunks that can attack their targets. The user can dehydrate others by sucking their nutrients through roots, and also doesn't require nutrition as long as they are in contact with the sun. In by Aramaki or Admiral Ryokugyu. Numanomi, swamp fruit, evolves you into a swamp man, allows the user to transform into the natural element of swamp soil, able to generate and turn into sticky semi-liquid swamps. These swamps act like moving sands, in the case sink anything or anyone they want into them. The user can then absorb those who have fallen into the swamps into their own body, while they remain intact within the depths of the swamp like a pocket dimension. Living beings can be stored inside while left unconscious and survive, but not for extensive periods of time. Eaten by Karibu. Pika Pika no Mi, or Light fruit, evolves you into a light man, allows the user to transform into the natural element of light, able to freely generate and turn into light particles. The user can use the light's laser beam-like properties to attack targets and cause explosions, and can also move at the speed of light, making them incredibly quick and lethal. Eaten by Borsalino or Admiral Kizaru, who has advanced the fruit enough to the point of being able to turn its individual particles into life, making them his clones. Suna no Mi, or Sand fruit, turns you into a Sandman, allows the user to transform into the natural element of sand, able to freely generate and turn into grains of sand. Through it, they can also absorb the moisture out of people and things, drying and dehydrating their targets, other items, or entire areas. When hardened with a liquid, the user will not be able to dissipate anymore as their sand hardens. Eaten by Crocodile. Susu no Mi, or Soot fruit, allows the user to transform into the natural element of soot, able to freely generate and turn into powdery soot. This soot can harden into shapes that can be used to hurt targets. Eaten by Karasu, who has advanced it to the point of being able to make it come to life. Yami no Mi, or Dark fruit, evolves you into a darkness man, allows the user to manipulate the natural element of darkness itself, able to freely generate pitch-black darkness. Unlike regular LOGIA users, the user cannot transform into the element and will thus receive any attack, which has led many to debate whether this fruit really is a LOGIA or yet another cover-up by the government, but the fruit's elusiveness makes this hard to determine. The darkness generated by the user acts as a gravitational force, able to draw other things in like a black hole. This fruit also has the very peculiar property of being able to generate black water that can neutralize the powers of Fruit users, once again raising suspicion towards the fruit's true nature. Eaten by Blackbeard, who had been hunting for the fruit for over 2 decades. Yuki no Mi, or Snow fruit, evolves you into a snowman, allows the user to transform into the natural element of snow, able to freely generate and turn into powdery snow. The snow can be made to be soft or quite hard and layered, though not as durable as some other substances. Thanks to their powers, the user can generate or induce cold around their targets with their snow, but are invulnerable to heat or cold themselves, being able to adapt to any temperature. Eaten by Monet. The most common category of Dal fruits is PARAMECIA, which allows those who eat the fruits to evolve into creatures possessing several paranormal abilities of varying degrees. Awakening a PARAMECIA fruit generally allows the user to extend their powers to other surfaces outside of them. Ato no Mi, or Art fruit, evolves you into an art man, allows the user to transform items and living people into works of art, distorting their appearances into abstract forms dictated by their creative vision. This can transmute the bodies of others to the point of impairing them. Eaten by Jola of the Don Quixote family. Awa no Mi, or Bubble fruit, evolves you into a soap man, allows the user to generate soap and its bubbles from their body to either wash any types of things or debilitate other people with their bubbles. Eaten by Khalifa. Baku no Mi, or Munch fruit, allows the user to eat any object or thing, and be able to then incorporate said object as a part of their body, such as sprouting a sword they ate. This even applies to other living beings, and the user can even combine different things they eat, such as fusing people together. Eaten by Wapo. Bari no Mi, or Barrier fruit, allows the user to generate barriers by crossing their fingers, which can be shaped in many ways around the user. It is currently unknown if there is any force that can destroy these barriers. However, their total range is limited and they can be pushed around with enough force. Originally eaten by Kurozumi Semimaru, who assisted in the Kurozumi takeover of Wano, but later eaten by Bartolomeo after his death. Bata no Mi, or Butter fruit, evolves you into a Butterman, allows the user to generate and freely control butter, which is slippy and sticky, allowing to entrap opponents. The user can manipulate the butter around telekinetically. Eaten by Charlotte Galette. Bisu no Mi, or Biscuit fruit, evolves you into a Biscuit man, allows the user to generate flour that forms into edible biscuits. These biscuits can be created as hard and tough, making for a surprising use as armor. By affecting the shape and color of the biscuits, the user can even generate entire living statues as puppets that fight on the user's behalf. The biscuits can, however, be softened through liquids and eaten just as food. Eaten by Charlotte Cracker. Buki Buki no Mi, or Arms Fruit, evolves you into a full-body weaponsman. Allows the user to turn any part of their body into a weapon, be it guns, swords, cannons, bombs, and much more with ease. Due to not being a natural element, it is not a Logia, as it is just weapons. Eaten by Baby 5. Buku Buku no Mi, or Book Fruit, evolves you into a bookman. Allows the user to generate books that can be used as platforms, as well as some other practical applications, such as communications by connecting Denden Mushi networks. These books can also absorb others into their respective pocket dimensions, called the World of Books, where the user can trap their targets inside of. Eaten by Charlotte Mondor. Bane Bane no Mi, or Spring Fruit, evolves you into a Spring Man. Allows the user to turn any part of their body into a spring, which can then coil and generate propulsion, allowing the user to bounce around and move quickly or coil their own attacks. Eaten by Bellamy. Bara no Mi, or Chop Fruit, evolves you into a choppable man. Allows the user to split their body into infinite parts, which can fly around on their own within a small radius of the user's feet. The user is immune to slicing attacks, as their body simply chops in half and reattaches itself. Eaten by Buggy. Berry no Mi, or Berry Fruit, evolves you into a Grape Man. Allows the user to split their body into spheres, which can bounce and move around independently. Though the parts are inedible, their berry-like shape is the basis of the fruit's name. Eaten by Very Good, a marine captain that attacked Enies Lobby. Beta no Mi, or Sticky Fruit, evolves you into a Mucus Man. Allows the user to generate large amounts of mucus, which are sticky and flammable, making them ideal to trap opponents. Not a Logia, but it has been used to deceive others into thinking it is. Eaten by Trebol. Bomu no Mi, or Bum Fruit, evolves you into a Bomb Man. Allows any part of the user's body to become explosive material, and obviously makes the user immune to explosions themselves. Eaten by Gem, also known as Mr. 5. Chiu no Mi, or Heal Fruit, allows the user to heal the physical wounds of themselves or others, instantly restoring affected areas. However, the user's healing is limited but can be restored as long as others offer donations or their life energy. The user's ultimate ability is to be able to restore a destroyed object to its original state, but at the cost of the user's lifespan. Eaten by Mancherry, Princess of the Tontata. Choki no Mi, or Shear Fruit, evolves you into a Scissors Man. Allows the user to turn part of their body into scissors that can cut any surface as if it were paper, being able to slice even the hardest of concrete and give it the properties of a fluttering piece of paper. Eaten by Inazuma, and was originally conceived as a crab ZOAN but was simplified to a scissors fruit. Deca no Mi, or Deca Fruit, allows the user to enlarge their body up to 10 times, or Deca in size, to become massive. In the case of an already large creature, such as a giant, were to eat it, it will allow them to become proportionally 10 times larger as well, which can lead to colossal combinations depending on the user. Eaten by San Juan Wolf, who was already a giant, which lets him turn his normal 18-meter height of a giant into a total of up to 180 meters. Doa no Mi, or Door Fruit, evolves you into a Door Man. Allows the user to create openable doors on any surface, be it solid or living, which can then be crossed. The user can even open doors on air itself to enter a pocket dimension. The number of doors is limited by the user's stamina. Eaten by Bluna of CP9 and now CP0. Doku no Mi, or Poison Fruit, evolves you into a Poison Man. Allows the user to generate massive amounts of poisons, venoms, and toxins of all kinds, making this an incredibly dangerous ability, as many of its attacks can be downright fatal since they attack the body's inner system directly. Though able to generate poison, the user cannot become poison, thus not making them a Logia. Also offers some degree of protection against other poisons. Eaten by Magellan. Doru no Mi, or Candle Fruit, evolves you into a Candle Man. Allows the user to generate wax from their body, which they can use to craft any series of strong and very durable wax creations. Not a Logia, as the user can only generate wax. eaten by Galdino, also known as Mr. 3. Fude Fude no Mi, or Brush Brush Fruit, allows the user to make any item or creature they draw come to life, which they can then control. The artistic talent of the user will reflect in their creations and how effectively they can work. Eaten by Kanjuro. Fuku Fuku no Mi, or Close Close Fruit, allows the user to transform small items such as pebbles or leaves into wearable clothes, making it useful for disguises or when adaptable clothing is needed. However, the outfits will vanish when removed from the body. Eaten by Kinemon in reference to the kitsune fox of Wano folklore being a mythical creature that can disguise itself by changing its appearance. Fua Fua no Mi, or Float Float Fruit, allows the user to make anything float in the air with the exception of living creatures aside from themselves. They can however make other things such as ships or entire islands carrying living creatures fly in the air, and can then remain suspended for long amounts of time to serve as flying bases of operations. Eaten by the legendary pirate Golden Lion Shiki, who used it to keep the Merville archipelago afloat as a set of floating islands. Gabu Gabu no Mi, or Glug Glug Fruit, evolves you into an alcohol man, allows the user to generate alcohol, which can then be flammable or explosive. Eaten by Vasco Shot. Giro Giro no Mi, or Glare Glare Fruit, evolves you into an unsightful man, allows the user to see through things such as walls and physical objects, allowing them to even see things at long, faraway distances beyond where the normal naked eye may see. The user can also see into the present minds of others, being able to read their current thoughts and intentions. Eaten by Princess Viola. Gocha Gocha no Mi, or Mix Mix Fruit, allows the user to momentarily fuse together with other people, creating a combined body that combines all of their strength. Eaten by Charlotte Nushi, one of Big Mom's decuplet children, who uses the fruit to fuse together with the other decuplets. Gomu Gomu no Mi, or Gum Gum Fruit, evolves you into a rubber man, gives the user a permanently rubbery body that can freely stretch and possess the properties of rubber. Though this fruit possesses an original different name, it was reclassified by the government to hide the name from history. Eaten by an unnamed user over 800 years ago, and later eaten by Monkey D. Luffy. Gura Gura no Mi, or Quake Quake Fruit, evolves you into a Tremor Man. It allows the user to generate vibration tremors that can result in earthquakes or seaquakes. These quakes can be unleashed to sink entire islands or condensed to hit into one attack, which is why many consider this to be one of the most powerful paramecia, some believing it capable of destroying the world just like an ancient weapon. Originally eaten by Whitebeard, though was later obtained by Blackbeard upon stealing it during Whitebeard's death. Guru Guru no Mi, or Spin Spin Fruit, evolves you into Rotate Man, allows the user to rotate any parts of their body at high speeds. These rotations can cause damage when making contact with others, but more practically can be applied to turn the user into a living plane. Eaten by Buffalo of the Don Quixote family. Hana Hana no Mi, or Flower Flower Fruit, allows the user to clone and momentarily sprout copies of any part of their body within their field of view, which they control as an extension of their body, much like how a flower spreads its seeds. These cloned parts share the same sensations and pain as the main body, but upon heavy damage, they will simply vanish, so the user simply needs to ensure the original body will not be harmed. Eaten by Robin. Hira Hira no Mi, or Flatter Flatter Fruit, evolves you into a Flagman, allows the user to give their body or other items, as long as they are non-living, the textural properties of paper, rippling like a flag, making them malleable and easy to move. The transformed items will retain the material properties they originally had, such as being hard or sharp, but will simply have a fluttering form. Eaten by Diamante. Hobi Hobi no Mi, or Toy Toy Fruit, allows the user to turn others into living toys upon contact, and to instruct them with and give them orders as if a child was playing with them. The orders cannot be broken until the user reverses them or the user is knocked unconscious. Furthermore, those turned into toys will vanish from the memories of others for the duration of their transformation. As another side effect, the user's body will stop aging upon eating the fruit. Its name, literally meaning hobby, comes from the English word being used as a term for toys within Japanese, hence its translation into the toy toy fruit. Eaten by Sugar. Horo Horo no Mi, or Holo Holo Fruit, evolves you into a ghost man. Allows the user to create ghosts that induce fear and mental depression when making contact with others. Some ghosts can also be made to cause small explosions too. The user can also turn their soul into a ghost that can fly and pass through objects. Eaten by Perona. Horu Horu no Mi, or Hormone Fruit, evolves you into a hormone-altering man. Allows the user to modify the hormones of themselves and others, allowing to change vital aspects of the human body such as one's sex, their nervous system, autoimmune body, and much more, but can only work within the realm of what the body can naturally do with additionally provided hormones. Eaten by Emporio Ivankov, who uses it to freely change their sex and that of others. Hoya Hoya no Mi, or Puff Fruit, evolves you into a lamp man. Allows the user to become a lamp from which a genie can spawn after rubbing themselves. The genie will fight on their behalf with great strength remotely from their body. Eaten by Charlotte Daifuku. Ishi no Mi, or Stone Fruit, evolves you into a stone assimilation man. Allows the user to assimilate stone and shape it in any way they want, allowing them to create moving sculptures such as golems or altering the terrain of entire islands. Since the user is not a LOGIA, they cannot generate stone and must draw the stone they are using from other locations, though that generally shouldn't prove much of an issue on an island. The user can also swim and move within the stone. Eaten by Pika. Ito no Mi, or String Fruit, evolves you into a string man. Allows the user to generate razor-sharp strings from their body, offering a versatility of options from cutting and stitching things together to manipulating others like marionettes. The strings can also be used to fly around by hanging them onto tall buildings or even clouds, moving around almost like a spider. Eaten by Don Quixote do Flamingo and later supposedly transferred to S. Flamingo via green blood. Jake no Mi, or Jacket Fruit, evolves you into a jacket man. Allows the user to become a living full-body suit that can be worn by other people. When worn, the jacket user takes over the body of the person wearing them, combining their strength. Really gets you wondering who dreamed so profoundly of this. Eaten by Kelly Funk, who fought in the Corrida Coliseum. Jiki no Mi, or Magnet Fruit, allows the user to manipulate magnetism, being able to attract metal towards or away from their body. Upon awakening as a PARAMECIA, the user can alter the magnetism of other bodies. Though some scriptures speak of a certain punk boy Deca, most scholars agree of this having been a false idol. Eaten by Kid. Juku no Mi, or Ripe Fruit, allows the user to ripen anything they touch, causing it to grow old, eventually to the point of rotting if pushed far enough. This can result in any item or surface aging, allowing the user to create holes through them simply by aging them enough. Living beings can also be aged, allowing their bodies to grow up while still remaining their view and memories of the present. The effects of anything ripened are, however, irreversible, inanimate or living. Eaten by Shinobu. Kage no Mi, or Shadow Fruit, allows the user to steal the shadows of others, making them combustible when in contact with the sun. Stolen shadows can be given to corpses to bring them back to life, with the shadow acting as the soul of this new corpse. Though while the corpse will retain the memories and fighting style of the shadow, they will be bound by the limited strength of the body. If the corpse absorbs water, or some element containing water like salt or sea stone, they will lose their shadow. Eaten by Gecko Moria and later supposedly transferred to S. Gecko via green blood. Kibi no Mi, or Kibi Fruit, allows the user to generate kibidango dumplings from their body, which can then be fed to other animals. The fed animals will then obey the user's orders, though the effects wear off after a month. The dango cannot be fed to those of the same race, and ZOAN users are not affected either. However, it has been noted that some artificial ZOAN users have been affected by the dango, likely as a result of the animal's bloodline element still manifesting within the user. Eaten by Tama. Kilo no Mi, or Kilo Fruit, allows the user to alter their weight, currently known range being between 1 to 10,000 kilograms. Eaten by Mikita, also known as Miss Valentine. Kira no Mi, or Sparkle Fruit, allows the user to transform their body into diamond, one of the hardest and toughest substances there is, though he cannot generate the element like a LOGIA. Eaten by Jozu, the 3rd Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates, who, despite some rumors, should still be alive. Kobu no Mi, or Pump Fruit, allows the user to motivate and pump up others, letting other people momentarily gain very literal physical strength simply by listening to the user's motivational speeches. Eaten by Bello Betty. Kuku no Mi, or Cook Fruit, allows the user to transform any inanimate substance into food, allowing for an endless support of food that can nutrify the body. However, objects may still retain their original tastes. Eaten by Struisen, Big Mouth Chef Cook. Kuri Kuri no Mi or Cream Cream Fruit evolves you into a cream man, allows the user to generate and control cream at will. The cream can change in temperature, allowing it to reach boiling temperatures that can scorch targets. Eaten by Charlotte Opera. Maki Maki no Mi or Scroll Scroll Fruit allows the user to generate scrolls that can absorb and release items in their own pocket dimension. This can include massive quantities of objects or even elements such as fire and water. The user can also use scrolls to momentarily release clone illusions of themselves. In by Raizo and was long believed to be just ninjutsu techniques before it was confirmed as a Devil Fruit power. Mane Mane no Mi or Mimic Mimic Fruit evolves you into a Mimic Man, allows the user to physically transform into the appearance of anyone they touch. Touching a target is enough to permanently record their appearance, which the user can transform into at any time by transmuting their whole body. Though they attend the physical properties of the user, they don't retain any memories or experience. Originally eaten by Kurozumi Higurashi, a member of the Kosuke clan who was involved with the rocks and invited Kaido to take over Wano, offering Orochi's rise to power, but after Kaido killed her, the fruit was eventually eaten by Bentham, also known as Mr. 2 Bonkure. Mato Mato no Mi or Mark Mark Fruit allows the user to mark their targets by touching them with their hand, after which any item they throw into the air will fly towards the target no matter how far away. The mark remains identified on the user's hand until it is overridden when touching someone else, so the user can only maintain as many simultaneous marks as they have hands. Eaten by Vander Decken IX. Memo Memo no Mi or Memory Memory Fruit allows the user to forcibly see the memories of others by grabbing them from their heads, and can later erase them or edit them with the memories of other people to alter the perception of what they remember. Requires force contact, but the user can then remove the memory of the encounter. Eaten by Charlotte Pudding. Mero Mero no Mi or Charm Charm Fruit allows the user to emit attacks that petrify others by drawing on their own charm, be it their beauty, attractiveness, cuteness, or other depending on the user, causing the target to be petrified. The petrification can only be undone by the user. Does not work in those that have no interest in the target's designated charm or cannot visually see them. Eaten by Hancock and then passed to her clone as Snake via green blood. Mira Mira no Mi or Mirror Mirror Fruit evolves you into a Mirror Man, allows the user to manipulate mirrors that can reflect attacks or changing the appearance of themselves or others by mirroring them. The user can also cross any mirror to enter a parallel dimension known as the Mirror World, which the user can cross freely to easily reach other locations or use it as a safe space. Others can only enter the Mirror World by being within contact of the user when traversing a mirror. Eaten by Charlotte Burleigh. Mochi Mochi no Mi or Mochi Mochi Fruit allows the user to turn their body into mochi, a sticky type of rice paste, which lets their body stretch and deform in varied shapes thanks to the rubbery properties of mochi. Though similar to Logia fruits, it is not a natural element and is classified as a PARAMECIA, although it was originally called a Logia by accident in the original magazine before it was fixed in the volume release. By awakening, the user can however turn their environments into mochi as well. Some mistranslations refer to this fruit as a separate classification known as a special PARAMECIA, but this is actually simply a mistranslation from a dialect that referred to the fruit as being quite unique or special as a Japanese adjective, which was mistaken as an official classification as a unique special PARAMECIA. Eaten by Katakuri. Muchi Muchi no Mi or Whip Whip Fruit evolves you into a dominating man, allows the user to force others into obeying them by creating contact with their whip, including inanimate objects that will move on their own following the user's orders. Eaten by the Marine Kuzaku. Nagi Nagi no Mi or Calm Calm Fruit evolves you into a soundless man, allows the user to remove the generation of sound from other items or people within a given radius from them, causing them to generate no noise no matter what they do, a fruit rumored to give the greatest sleep people can imagine. Eaten by Don Quixote Rocinante, returned to circulation after his death. Netsu Netsu no Mi or Heat Heat Fruit evolves you into a fever heat man, allows the user to increase the temperature of any part of their body, allowing them to achieve high heats that can seriously injure others, though the user himself will not endure any damage or heat. They can also increase the heat of items or surfaces they come into contact with, provided of course that they can conduct heat. Eaten by Charlotte Oven. Nikyu Nikyu no Mi or Paw Paw Fruit evolves you into a Paw Man, grants the user bear-like paws on their hands, which can repel and bounce back any item that makes contact with them. The user can use its strong repel force to compress air, which can result in shockwaves. The repel force can also be used to send oneself or others flying across the world, essentially allowing for travel to any location as long as the user is able to calculate its coordinates and know physically where it is. Eaten by Bartholomew Kuma and later passed to his clone S-Bear via green blood. Nomi Nomi Nomi, or Brain Brain Fruit, evolves you into a Brain Man. Allows the user to remove the limit to the amount of storage space their brain can hold, allowing them to learn limitless knowledge without forgetting it. However, the more the storage space of the brain expands, the more the brain itself will physically expand, reaching massive sizes in the case the user is studious enough. Quite a tongue twister to pronounce, Nomi Nomi Nomi. Eaten by Vegapunk, who discovered how to use it to split his brain into different clones of himself. Nori Nori Nomi, Right Fruit, evolves you into a Driving Man. Allows the user to ride on top of any person or object, which will obey their orders regardless of their will. Eaten by Marine Vice Admiral Bluegrass. Noro Noro Nomi, or Noroma Noroma Fruit, evolves you into a Noroma Man. Allows the user to generate Noroma photons, a type of particle still not fully understood by science, which causes those who come in contact with the particles to experience time at a slower pace than the rest of the world. Thus, those hit by these particles the user can generate slow down and move as if they were in slow motion. Nui Nui Nomi, or Susu Fruit, allows the user to sew any two items together no matter their consistency without bringing harm to their state. For example, they may sew a human to an iron pipe, but neither of them will suffer damage after they are released, though the stitches are incredibly hard to undo without the user's help. In by Leo of the Tontata, Ope Ope Nomi, or Operation Fruit, evolves you into a Body Modification Man. Allows the user to execute a series of operations on the bodies of others like a surgeon from within their operating room, an area they are able to generate around themselves at the cost of their stamina. These abilities range from amputating limbs or organs without damage to moving things telekinetically within the room. The user can use its powers to perform operations and cure diseases that would otherwise be impossible to fix with normal science, but still requires medical knowledge to perform those things effectively. Its two greatest powers are the ability to switch souls between bodies, or the ability to grant the perennial youth operation, which makes the target never age, though still seemingly remain mortal, at the cost of the user's lifespan. Upon awakening, rooms can be deployed remotely. Even by Trafalgar Law, it is believed that King Nururaimu had someone use the perennial youth operation on themselves during the Void Century to stop from aging, and some believe that the 5 elder planets followed suit as well. Ori Ori Nomi, or Cage Fruit, allows the user to generate metal bindings that can cage and bind around their targets, perfect for trapping others. Must have been created by someone rather kinky, eaten by the marine Hina. Oshi Oshi Nomi, or Push Fruit, allows the user to push around objects and surfaces by turning them into malleable substances. This allows the user to make any ground or wall malleable and essentially easily gaining entrance into any location by digging into it through making the earth malleable. In by Morley, who once used it over 100 years ago to create level 5.5 and be the first person to escape from Impel Down. Ototonomi, or Sound Fruit. The user's body can transform into musical instruments, which when played can create sound waves that hurt their enemies in different ways, such as drum beats causing explosions, as long as the target does hear the sound waves through their ears. Eaten by Scratchman Apu. Pamu Pamu Nomi, or Pop Fruit, evolves you into a Puncture Man. Allows the user to cause any object they touch to swell up and blow up like a balloon. Cannot be used on living creatures, but can be used on the user themselves, who can blow up parts of their body that will regenerate after. Eaten by Gladius of the Don Quixote family. Pero Nomi, or Lick Fruit, evolves you into a Candyman. Allows the user to generate candy, allowing them to create items or sculptures made of candy. The candy can be made soft to be edible or hard as stone to construct edifices, vulnerable to melting as candy is. Eaten by Charlotte Perospero. Poke Nomi, or Pocket Fruit, allows the user to generate pockets on their body within which they can store any sort of items, essentially allowing for endless storage within one's body in a pocket dimension. in by Blamenko, the 6th Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. Riki Riki no Mi, or Force Fruit, allows the user to gain massive physical force, giving them physical power strong enough to lift entire mountains and deal massive physical damage, eaten by Jesus Burgess. Sabi Sabi no Mi, or Rust Fruit, evolves you into a Rust Man, allows the user to rust any metal they want upon contact if desired, eaten by Marine Captain who attacked in his lobby called Shu. Shari Shari no Mi, or Wheel Fruit, evolves you into a Wheelman, allows the user to turn any part of their body into a wheel that rotates at high speeds, causing damage by their speed. Can also be used as an efficient transport method by turning feet into wheels, eaten by the Marine Captain who attacked in his lobby called Sharinguru. Shiba Shiba no Mi, or Ring Fruit, evolves you into a Desiccation Man. The user can wring out objects or living creatures, removing the liquids from within their body. The user isn't actually removing liquids such as water, as it can affect even objects without liquids. Rather, it is squeezing out the contents of the target in liquid form by wringing them, leaving them shriveled. These contents can then be drank for the user's enjoyment or absorbed into their body, which allows them to inflate and amend their size by several times. The user can also wring their body if they wish to release something they were infected by, eaten by Charlotte Smoothie. Shiku Shiku no Mi, or Sick Fruit, allows the user to generate a series of diseases they can then spread onto their targets. Like most Dalfruit abilities, infection can be negated by strong hacky users, eaten by Doc Q. Shima Shima no Mi, or Island Fruit, evolves you into an Island Man, allows the user to take control of an island, making it come to life and able to manipulate its surface at will. The user will however feel the pain that the island sustains, eaten by Avalo Pizarro. Shiro Shiro no Mi, or Castle Fruit, evolves you into a Castle Man, allows the user to turn their body into a living castle, making the inside of his body a smaller pocket dimension where other people and the user can reside inside of, allowing the body to serve as a perfect defense for sieges or retreats. Though this makes the user's body more durable, any damage inflicted upon it will still hurt the user. In its strongest technique, the user can transform into a gigantic castle with great durability, eaten by Capone Beige. Soru Soru no Mi, or Soul Fruit, allows the user to absorb the lifespan out of the souls of people. This lifespan can then be granted to any type of inanimate objects, which will come to life as living objects known as homies that will obey the user, though this is more out of subservience and fear rather than a forced condition by the fruit. Other living creatures can become homies, though dead corpses cannot be revived. In its strongest technique, the user can sacrifice their own lifespan to gain more strength in the present. The user can manipulate exactly the number of years taken out of a lifespan, and if enough are taken, the target can end up dying. Eaten by Mother Carmel, but its power is transferred to Big Mom Charlotte Lindleen after she accidentally ate Carmel alive. Returned to circulation after Lindleen's supposed death. Sube Sube no Mi, or Smooth Fruit, allows the user to make their skin silky smooth, causing any object impacting the body to slip off of it. It can also help with weight loss by making the fat literally slip away. Eaten by Alvida. Ske no Mi, or Clear Fruit, evolves you into an Invisible Man, allows the user to become partially invisible or completely invisible, as well as turning any objects they desire invisible when in maintained contact with their body. Despite becoming invisible, the user still exists materially. Its name is a pun on skebe, or pervert, because the type of users it unfortunately tends to attract. Eaten by Absalom, who was later killed as Shiryu ate his fruit. Sui Sui no Mi, or Swim Fruit, evolves you into a free swimming man, allows the user to swim through any solid surface, able to dive into floors and walls as if they were water whenever they want, though they can also switch to a solid state to simply walk on them. Given how Dalfruits cannot swim in water, one may see this as a desire to wish to keep swimming even outside the sea. Eaten by Senor Pink and later passed on to S Shark via green blood. Spaspa no Mi, or Slash Fruit, evolves you into a full-blooded blade man, allows the user to turn any part of their body into an iron blade sharp as a sword. However, these blades can still be broken and cut by those strong enough to shatter tough iron. Eaten by Das Bones, also known as Mr. One, later transferred to S Hawk via green blood. Tonton Nomi or Tonton fruit evolves you into a superweight man, allows the user to increase their own weight to incredible degrees, far higher than those of the Kilo Kilo Nomi, though with the drawback of not being able to become lighter, crushing anything beneath them with their great weight. Eaten by magpies of the Don Quixote family. Toge Toge Nomi or Thorn Thorn fruit evolves you into a thorn man, allows the user to turn any part of their body into thorns that can pincer and pierce even hard surfaces with ease. Eaten by Zala, also known as Miss Double Finger. Toki Toki Nomi or Time Time fruit allows the user and those it touches to leap through time. As time travel to the past is scientifically impossible, the user can only leap forward towards the future, being able to travel ahead as far as they want, though never able to go back once they leap. The user can manipulate the amount of time they'll leap, but not the space, appearing in the exact same place that they warped. The user can also warp other things or other people into the future. This fruit had not been seen in circulation since the Void Century, as its original user Toki has slept in time for the past 800 years. Her name and age period makes you question if the fruit may have been named after her, or vice versa. Toshi Toshi Nomi or HH fruit evolves you into an age manipulation man, allows the user to freely manipulate their age or that of other people for limited periods of time. For future aging, the user can transform themselves or others into several different potential futures of themselves. Can also be used to affect the age of some physical objects. Eaten by Jewelry Bunny. Uta Uta Nomi or Sing Sing fruit allows the user to transport the consciousness of any who listen to their singing voice into a virtual parallel world, causing their real bodies to fall asleep. Within that world, the user can manipulate it with great power with a range of wide abilities, as if in control of a dream. The world can only be dispelled by the user's own will, or when the user is the one to fall asleep or unconscious. If killed in the outside world, however, the user may be unable to liberate those trapped within the world. The user can also control those who are sleeping through hypnotism. The powers will similarly work regardless of the user's singing skills, thank God. Eaten by Uta. Wapu Wapu Nomi or Warp Warp fruit allows the user to warp themselves and anyone they touch freely, able to teleport around instantly. Eaten by Van Augur. Wara Wara Nomi or Straw Straw fruit. The user can generate straw that can be used to make rudimentary weapons or exoskeletons. The straw can also, however, be used to create voodoo dolls, which can redistribute damage received by user onto other targets the voodoo dolls were made after. Eaten by Basil Hawkins. Washu Washu Nomi or Wash Wash fruit evolves you into a laundry man, allows the user to wash the bodies of others. This causes them to attain a cloth-like flattering consistence for a period of time, but also washes their souls, removing away evil and violent intentions from them. Eaten by legendary marine Tsuru. Yomi Yomi Nomi or Revive Revive fruit evolves you into a resurrection man. Allows the user to revive upon death as a floating soul that can possess their corpse to live once more without aging, though if not done quickly enough, the body may have already decayed into a skeleton that will still move around nonetheless. Ailments that would affect a normal living body may not have effect on the corpse, and the user may be able to influence the souls of others. Eaten by Brook. Zushi Zushi Nomi or Weight Weight fruit allows the user to manipulate forces of weight by controlling gravity, making objects either lack weight as they float up, or achieve immense weight by falling down towards the planet's gravitation, such as floating objects or even something like a meteor. The gravitational force can also be controlled and applied simply by itself to push others or an area towards the ground or any direction, such as the sides or even up, which can make objects float. Eaten by Isho, also known as Admiral Fujitora. The third and final category of Dao fruits are ZOAN, which allow the user to evolve into an animal in which they can transform in a hybrid form or a fully transformed form. ZOAN Dao fruits are categorized into families, just like animals, which include a default model and several sub-models. Two additional subcategories that sub-models can potentially fit into further exist, being ancient models, which are based on animals that existed since prehistoric times, and mythical models, which are based on fictional creatures from myth that never existed, which often possess additional special powers that are similar to LOGIA or PARAMECIA users in some cases. Zoan fruits are said to possess a will of their own, and when awakened, the user achieves a transformation that draws in the will of the animal within their personality. If the user is not of strong enough will, however, the awakening can end up wrongly and the will of the animal consumes the user. Hebi Hebi no Mi, or Snake fruit, allows the user to transform into a snake. Hebi Hebi no Mi model King Cobra allows the user to transform into the serpent that is the King Cobra, able to poison others with their venom, in by Boa Marigold. Hebi Hebi no Mi model Anaconda allows the user to transform into the serpent that is the Anaconda, able to strangle others with their large body, in by Boa Sandersonia. Hebi Hebi no Mi mythical model Yamata no Orochi allows the user to transform into the mythical fictional creature that is the Yamata no Orochi, a serpent with 8 heads. The user gains 8 total lives corresponding to each of the heads, and all 8 heads must be decapitated for the user to die, with each head lost, disappearing forever once that life is consumed, though the user can decide to only spawn a certain number of heads at a time to remain alive for the moment as a backup. In by Orochi attained for him by Higurashi and returned to circulation after he was finally killed a total of 8 times. Inu Inu no Mi, or Dog fruit, allows the user to transform into a dog. Inu Inu no Mi model Dachshund allows the user to transform into the canine Dachshund, a dog of small proportions. Fed to a cannon through the new technology of allowing inanimate objects to eat Zoan fruits in what was later nicknamed the dog cannon Lasso. Inu Inu no Mi model Jackal allows the user to transform into the canine Jackal, a dog with long ears who has served as the guardian deity of Alabasta for centuries. In by Shaka. Inu Inu no Mi model Wolf allows the user to transform into the canine Wolf, a more aggressive dog capable of hunting prey. In by Jabra. Inu Inu no Mi model Dalmatian, speculative name, allows the user to transform into the canine Dalmatian, a dog known for the spots over its body. In by Marine Vice Admiral Dalmatian, though the fruit has yet to be officially named. Inu Inu no Mi model Chihuahua, speculative name, allows the user to transform into the canine Chihuahua, a rather small and tame dog. In by the Mino Chihuahua, a jailer beast of Impel Down, who awakened their fruit but failed in the process, being overtaken by the will of the fruit and turned into a brutish beast, though the fruit has yet to be officially named. Inu Inu no Mi model Tanuki allows the user to transform into the canine Tanuki, also known as the raccoon dog, known for its extremely enormous balls. Fed to a physical object by accident, turning Tenguyama Hitetsu's cattle into life as his pet, Bumbuku. Inu Inu no Mi mythical model Kyubi no Kitsune allows the user to transform into the mythical fictional canine creature of the Kyubi no Kitsune, a deity fox with 9 tails capable of transforming into appearance of anyone it wishes, even being able to shift and change its clothes. In by Katarina Devon. Inu Inu no Mi mythical model Okuchi no Makami allows the user to transform into the mythical creature that is the Okuchi no Makami, a wolf deity said to be the guardian deity of the Wano country. This wolf can manipulate the element of ice. In by Yamato, who has awakened it. Kame Kame no Mi, or Tortoise fruit, allows the user to transform into a tortoise, able to retract into a durable shell and hide from attacks, not to be mistaken with a turtle, the sea creature that cannot retract into its shell, eaten by the mink Pecoms. Kumo Kumo no Mi, or Spider fruit, allows the user to transform into a spider, supposedly eaten by Vice Admiral Onigumo, though it's not exactly clear if he has eaten the default fruit or some model variation. Kumo Kumo no Mi ancient model Rosamigale Gravogeli allows the user to transform into the ancient arachnid that is the Rosamigale Gravogeli, a large spider from prehistoric times, and by Black Maria, though she used the drug in order to achieve a more beautiful hybrid form. Mogo Mogo no Mi, or Momo fruit, allows the user to transform into a mole, able to dig holes in the ground and excavate easily, in by Dorofi, also known as Miss Merry Christmas. Mushi Mushi no Mi, or Bug fruit, allows the user to transform into a bug. Mushi Mushi no Mi model Kabutomushi allows the user to transform into the bug that is the Kabutomushi, also known as a rhinoceros beetle, able to fly with its wings and attack with its large horn, in by Kabu of the Tontatta. Mushi Mushi no Mi model Suzumebachi allows the user to transform into the bug that is the Suzumebachi, also known as the Hornet, able to fly with wings and attack enemies with its stinger, in by Bian of the Tontatta. Mushi Mushi no Mi model Caterpillar, speculative name, allows the user to transform into the bug that is the caterpillar, gaining different sections across their body. was seemingly eaten by Epoida, the allied captain of the Whitebeard pirates, though the fruit has not been officially named yet. Neko Neko no Mi, or cat fruit, allows the user to transform into the feline that is the cat, allowing it to gain claws and the agility of a cat. This fruit was actually originally intended to be eaten by Marguerite of Amazon Lily, but she never ended up eating the fruit and was simply left as someone without a devil fruit. Neko Neko no Mi model Leopard evolves you into a leopard man. Allows the user to transform into the feline Leopard, a vicious and fast hunter known as one of the fastest animals on the planet, eaten by Rob Lucci, who awakened it. Neko Neko no Mi Ancient Model Saber Tiger allows the user to transform into the ancient creature that is the feline Smilodon, commonly known as the Saber Tiger or Saber-Toothed Tiger, a large tiger with two massive saber-shaped teeth protruding from its head, hence its name. Eaten by Who's Who. Ryo no Mi, or Sorcerer Fruit, allows the user to transform into a soar. This family can include different types of soars, be it dinosaurs or pterosaurs among others. This fruit's family is often mistranslated as the dragon fruit, but this is simply an error based on the fact that dragon and sour share the same kanji. Ryo no Mi Ancient Model Allosaurus allows the user to transform into the ancient dinosaur that is the Allosaurus, a large bipedal lizard with great jaws, eaten by Dieth Drake. Ryo no Mi Ancient Model Spinosaurus allows the user to transform into the ancient dinosaur that is the Spinosaurus, a very large amphibious bipedal lizard similar to the T-Rex in some forms, with a massive spine on its back. Originally an amphibious dinosaur, but obviously the user cannot move through water. Eaten by Page 1. Ryo no Mi Ancient Model Pteranodon allows the user to transform into the pterosaur that is the Pteranodon, a large avian reptile with a massive beak and equally massive wings. Some historians claim that in ancient times they hunted by stretching back their beaks, though some doubt this. Eaten by Albert, also known as King. Ryo no Mi Ancient Model Brachiosaurus allows the user to transform into the dinosaur that is the Brachiosaurus, a colossal reptile with a massive torso, tail and long neck, whose weight alone can crush anything to smithereens. Eaten by Queen. Ryo no Mi Ancient Model Pachycephalosaurus allows the user to transform into the dinosaur that is the Pachycephalosaurus, a bipedal reptile with a hardened skull that can use to headbutt targets into submission. To help you out, it's pronounced Pachycephalosaurus. Eaten by Ulti. Ryo no Mi Ancient Model Triceratops allows the user to transform into the dinosaur that is the Triceratops, a white reptile with a massive frill around its neck that protects it from attacks, and large horns from its head. Some historians believe that in ancient times, the Triceratops could spin its frill around to move like a helicopter. Eaten by Sasaki. Sarasara no Mi allows the user to transform into a salamander. Sarasara no Mi model Axolotl allows the user to transform into the salamander that is the axolotl. In spite of being an amphibian creature often found in water, the user cannot come into contact with water due to devil-fruit weaknesses. Was said to the inanimate object that was the poisonous gas of Punk Hazard by Caesar Clown, who then called him his pet Smiley, but has since returned to circulation after Smiley became gas again and died in the process. Tama Tama no Mi allows the user to transform into an egg, which when cracked will transform into a cheek, and when cracked again will transform into a chicken. When cracked once more, it will revert back into an egg, bringing back the age-old question of what came first, the egg, the chick, or the chicken. Despite its bizarre properties, it is currently officially categorized as a ZOAN. Eaten by Baron Tamago of the Big Mom Pirates, was also called Viscount Hiyoko or Count Niwatori depending on what stage he's currently transformed into. Toritori no Mi or Bird Fruit allows the user to transform into a bird. Toritori no Mi model Falcon allows the user to transform into the bird that is the falcon, believed by some to be the fastest animal in the world when diving and has served as the guardian deity of Alabasta for centuries. Eaten by Pell. Toritori no Mi mythical model Phoenix allows the user to transform into the mythical fictional creature of the Phoenix. As such, the user can heal themselves and others, though this has a limit. eaten by Marco. Toritorinomi model Albatross allows the user to transform into the albatross, a large bird with a big beak and long wings, eaten by Big News Morgans, who seemingly stays transformed to stop anyone from knowing his true appearance, being a man of many enemies. Uma Umanomi, or horse fruit, allows the user to transform into the equine that is the horse, able to gallop and be used by others as transport. In by Pierre, Ganfal's bird, allowing it to turn into a flying horse hybrid. Uma Umanomi model Zebra, speculative name, a fruit that allows the user to transform into an equine that is the zebra, a horse with stripes. In by the Mino Zebra, who awakens their fruit but failed in the process, being overtaken by the will of the fruit and turned into a brutish beast, though the fruit has yet to be officially named. Uma Umanomi mythical model Pegasus allows the user to transform into the mythical fictional creature that is the Pegasus, a horse with large wings that can fully fly through the sky as others ride it. In by Stronger, Doku's horse, who was already a horse, but through the fruit became a Pegasus. Uowonomi allows the user to transform into a fish. Uowonomi mythical model Seiryu allows the user to transform into the mythical fictional creature that is the Seiryu, a colossal azure dragon that can manipulate the elements, such as fire, wind, lightning, and more. The name was likely chosen based on the source or fruit being pronounced the same as dragon, and since in legend it is said that dragons are fish who evolved, the name was adopted. It was seized by Magma at God Valley after the celestial dragons seemingly stole it from the rocks, though it's possible they were referring to some other fruit they stole, who then gave it to Kaido. After Kaido's supposed death, it would have returned into circulation. A successful cloning of the fruit was created by Dr. Vegapunk from Kaido's bloodline elements and later eaten by Momonosuke, though he deemed it a failure due to the simple fact the dragon was pink rather than blue, despite being otherwise a flawless copy, and the only really almost perfect Doll fruit created. Legends speak of a historical dragon who was slain by the samurai Ryuma. Given the fruit's mythical status, it's possible that said dragon may have been a previous user of the fruit. Ushushinomi, or ox fruit, allows the user to transform into the bovine that is the cow, seemingly eaten by the Minotaurus, who awakened the fruit but failed in the process and got his consciousness overtaken by the will within the fruit, turning it into a brutish beast, though it hasn't been officially named and perhaps could be a different model rather than the default model. Ushushinomi model Bison allows the user to transform into the bovine that is the bison, a bovine with large horns and a lot of power behind them, in by Dalton. Ushushinomi model Giraffe evolves you into a giraffe man, allows the user to transform into the bovine that is the giraffe, with a large protruding neck, though some scientists would argue the giraffe wouldn't really qualify as a bovine as it isn't part of the family. In by Kaku, who has awakened it. Zozonomi, or elephant fruit, allows the user to transform into an elephant which can injure targets simply from its sheer size and weight. Fed to the inanimate object a Spandam sword, turning it into his pet Funkfried. Zozonomi ancient model Mammoth allows the user to transform into the ancient creature that is the mammoth, a woolly elephantid that is far larger than a normal elephant and with far bigger tusks. In by the fishman Jack. Hitohitonomi, or human fruit, evolves you into a human, allows an animal to become human and attain human traits and intelligence, unknown what effects, if any, it may have if eaten by an already existing human. In by Chopper, which provided him with intelligence. Hitohitonomi mythical model Daibutsu allows the user to transform into the mythical fictional creature that is the Daibutsu, a deity venerated in some religions, also known as a Buddha, who reached enlightenment. Manifesting in the form of a giant golden statue, the Daibutsu is able to deliver powerful shockwaves that cause high damage. In by Sengoku, Hitohitonomi mythical model Onyudo allows the user to transform into the mythical fictional creature of the Onyudo, a yokai that takes the form of a large hominid person with a big head, allowing the user to become quite large and strong. In by Onimaru, the Komagitsune fox of the late daimyo Shimotsuke Shimaru, which provided him with intelligence. Hitohitonomi mythical model Nika, the original name of the Gomu Gomu no Mi before it was reclassified into a PARAMECIA by the government to erase its name from history, allows the user to transform into the mythical fictional creature of Nika, a cartoonish figure also known as the warrior of liberation Joy Boy that people in ancient times have venerated as a deity known as the Sun God. Joy Boy was said to be a superhero whose main trait was having a body made of rubber, and thus the user of the fruit has his body permanently transformed into rubber, which can achieve even greater freedom of ability when awakening. Upon awakening, the influence of the fruit may also result in the user fighting in a more cartoonish and wacky way, fitting of its figure where they can express its imagination, though it does have its limits. It was originally eaten and awakened by a prominent figure of the Void Century of unknown name, who was given the title Joy Boy after becoming the character, while the fruit evaded for 800 years until it was eaten again by its new user, Monkey D. Luffy, who became the second incarnation of the mythical fictional character of Joy Boy. Finally, there are currently 6 Dal fruits whose names are not yet fully identifiable. First, a fruit that gives the user control over winds and seemingly lets him transform into wind as well. Could be the LOGIA, likely to be called Kazekaze no Mi, but some speculate it could be some mythical ZOAN or PARAMECIA as well. Eaten by Monkey D. Dragon. A seemingly ZOAN fruit that grants the user wings, which was eaten by Lafitte. A seemingly PARAMECIA fruit that allows the user to become stronger the more damage they receive from others, eaten by Uruj. A ZOAN fruit that allows the user to transform into a rhinoceros, likely to be something like the Sai no Mi, eaten by the Mino rhinoceros who failed to awaken it. A ZOAN fruit that allows the user to transform into a koala, likely to be called something like the Koa no Mi or Komo no Mi, eaten by the Mino koala, who failed to awaken it as well. A seemingly mythical ZOAN fruit that allows the user to transform into a succubus, gaining the ability to make others fall asleep, eaten by the Stussy clone. And finally, a ZOAN fruit that allows the user to transform into a sea otter, likely to be called the Rakorako no Mi, eaten by Vice Admiral Pomsky. However, beyond those, there are powers that stand out due to the fact that despite acting like Dal fruit abilities, they have currently not been identified as such, instead only currently referred to as simply devils. This is of course referring to the powers of the 5 elder planets, the Gorosei. It is unknown how exactly these powers have come to be, but despite behaving like mythical ZOAN fruits, possessing normal, hybrid and beast forms as well as an awakened form, they have been referred to as actual devils, not users in the normal nomenclature. These devils are also able to summon each other with satanic circles and are seemingly able to endlessly regenerate their powers. First among them is the Sandworm, a power wielded by the first elder, Saint Shepherd Jew Peter, who can transform into a colossal sandworm devil that can burrow deep underground to catch its prey unaware and eat anything in its path. Secondly is the Bakotsu, also known in English as the Skeleton Horse, a power wielded by the second elder, Saint Ethan Baron Venus Juro, who can transform into a giant skeletal horse akin to the one that death itself rides. As such, the user is able to bring forth the chill of the underworld with his attacks in the form of the ability to freeze others. Third is the Hoki, also known by its original name of the Fang Shi, a power wielded by the third elder, Saint Topman Warkri, who can transform into a gigantic boar coated in fire and with 4 tusks that are sharp as blades. Fourth is the Itsumade, a power wielded by the 4th elder, Saint Marcus Mars, who can transform into a devilish creature with the body of a bird and the tail of a snake, who is said to bring disease and misfortune with it. And fifth is the Gyuki, a power wielded by the 5th elder, Saint J. Garcia Saturn, who can transform into a devil with the body of a spider and the face of a cow demon. It is able to injure others simply by making eye contact with them, and it is able to secrete venoms that cause diseases and other effects as well. The peculiar nature of these powers as actual devils brings one to wonder where they may have originated from, which leads us to the most mysterious power of all, that of King Nerona Imu. Imu possesses the most fearsome power of all, one that allows them to morph into a mysterious and dark form that can take many shapes, such as that of a great jaw, a large body, or darkness itself, a form so fearsome that it reminds one of the very devil himself. It is widely believed by many at this point that Imu may potentially be the sea devil Umi who originally created the devil fruits, being the genesis of all of these powers, given all of the evidence proposed so far as well as the devil theming that surrounds Imu's subordinates. As such, it would make sense if the Gorosei were actually the first actual devils that were created by Imu, maybe even serving as extensions of their body, which later may have led to the creation of what we now know as the devil fruits.